Thomas Godfrey's here from The Sun. Thomas, very good morning to you.
Morning, Mike.
Amazing page one today. Air Fast One, one of the great Sun headlines. You went yesterday to get on a plane from Heathrow to Paris, Charles de Gaulle, assuming or expecting that there would be a few migrants on the plane. Tell us what happened.
That's correct, yeah, with the doors locked, everyone's seatbelts fastened and only a 10-minute delay at Heathrow, everything on Keir Starmer's second deportation flight was going rather well. There was only one problem with it, Mike. There were no migrants on board. For the second day in a row, the flagship one-in, one-out scheme has been scuppered by lawyers, campaign groups, a pressure offensive actually against Air France itself. And it seems that at the 11th hour yesterday, with empty pairs of seats dotted around this Air France flight to Charles de Gaulle, absolutely no deportations were taking place, and that became very clear within about 15 seconds of actually getting on the airplane. So
once you got on the plane, there weren't people actually on the plane that then got taken off. They didn't actually get to the plane.
Well, they didn't get to Heathrow. This didn't even begin. This process didn't start. There were simply just rows of empty seats. I think there's a picture in the paper today of some of the rows of empty seats after the doors had locked. Obviously, then people moved around to give themselves some more space. But it seems these seats were bought and paid for by the Home Office. They had told asylum seekers at the Harmondsworth Removal Centre, which is near Heathrow, they had told them, you will be deported on this day, on this plane, at this time.
Because they'd written to them all, hadn't
they? They'd written to them. Over the weekend, they'd written to a number, it's at least two, to tell them you'll be accompanied by a Border Force officer, you'll be taken back to Paris and put into an emergency accommodation in a hotel in the Parisian suburbs. And it just didn't happen. And now we learned last night that this scheme has been dealt a further blow because it seems at least 7 migrants, including a 25-year-old Eritrean man, are planning to challenge their deportation at the High Court. And so far, one success rate yesterday afternoon in blocking a flight that was meant to go out this afternoon.
And so, I mean, one question, or a lot of questions really, but one question, for example, once these migrants get the letter from the Home Office saying you're going to be deported, how do they get hold of a lawyer from that point?
Well, as part of a ruling, if you remember 2 years ago, when the Rwanda scheme under the previous Conservative government was kiboshed, part of that ruling was that the Home Office have to give generous amounts of time for migrants and asylum seekers facing deportation to find legal representation and take legal advice. It's a right they have. It's something they're entitled to, and it means they can't just be forced onto a plane. You can't just put people on a plane and take them before they've had the chance to go through the court process. The problem is that once they start that court process, and we saw it in a very expedited fashion yesterday because there was an imminent risk to this Eritrean man that he would be flown home. Once you start that court process, with the asylum backlog we have of 110,000 or so new applications last year, loads of cases in the courts already, in the tribunals, it can take years to get a final decision on just a single outcome, let alone thousands upon thousands upon thousands. And if you think the scale of people who would be going back under this one-in, one-out scheme, there was 155 detained in Dover at the start of last month. If all of them make applications, we might not get a single person on a plane for months, unless someone is willing to go back to France. And simply, if you're an asylum seeker, why would you want to go back to France, having paid thousands to an evil people smuggling gang just to get to Britain because of the pull factors we offer?
You might also want to wait until the Home Office actually offers you money to go, like they've done in the past, where they've often made people sort of 3,000 or 4,000 quid just to go back to where they came from. But I mean, your piece this morning says more than 9,900 dinghy migrants have arrived since the deal was unveiled back in July. So, I mean, you're talking about, you know, nearly 10,000 people versus about 100. Even if it was successful, leaving and then bringing another 100 back in.
Exactly.
So it's a completely mad policy.
Well, it won't drive the numbers of asylum claims down.
No.
It won't drive the number of boat crossings down. This is supposed to be a deterrent.
But it won't reduce the numbers here.
No, correct. But this is supposed to be a deterrent. But, Mike, there is no deterrent if you can't deport anyone. There is no deterrent if people look at the scheme as it was announced with great fanfare at the start of July, with Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron
called it.
Virtually sort of arm in arm talking about how this would be brilliant, this would be hugely successful. But if you can't actually follow through with it, if you can't deliver on your promises, then why would anyone be deterred from trying to come here? And you're right, 100 people detained versus 10,000 coming in. I mean, the numbers don't add up.
No.
It's very simple. The numbers don't add up. And unless we can immediately prove that this is a viable scheme, and that means fighting these claims through the courts, or, as a lot of people have pointed out, changing how we apply some of the law, including the ECHR, we're not going to get anywhere near the target, the idea, the goal of this scheme of preventing or driving down boat crossings. And I think the government in the last 24 hours have come to that realisation. Sadly, they've come to it way too late.
They have. But Liz Kendall, who's Technology Secretary now, she was on BBC Breakfast this morning. Here's what she had to say about how it's going to affect their plans.
It is an interim judgment on one individual. It will not stop this really important deal from going ahead, a deal that says if you come to this country illegally, you can and you will be deported. You know, we have never claimed that that is a silver bullet to tackle all of the problems that we face with small boats and illegal migration, but it is important, and Shabana is determined to make sure that that works.
She's determined to make sure that it works. She'll stop at nothing. She will leave no stone unturned. All of these phrases keep coming out of their lips, but actually nothing's happening.
I mean, all of those phrases have been used for the last year now, effectively since Labour took office. And in that time, the number of boat crossings has gone up. I think we're a third higher at this point than we were last year. So there's absolutely no sign of this crisis abating. Alex Davies-Jones yesterday insisted deportations would happen as soon as possible. The problem is no one seems to know when as soon as possible is. Even the people writing the letters to asylum seekers who are in detention, who are in removal centres, the key word there being removal, they don't even know when it is, because they can't keep their promises in terms of once they've booked tickets on a flight, and we paid 650 quid for my seat on that air.
That's lost money to us, right?
Unless they've got a very expensive flexible ticket, which they can mess around with at the last moment to change the flights. And I imagine they've probably been doing a lot of that this week, calling up Air France and saying, please get us on another flight. That's maybe their only option at this point. But you're right. I mean, we're paying for these seats. We're paying for the escort seat as well, and then potentially we're paying for emergency accommodation.
And presumably, you've got to bring the escort back as well.
Yep, that's very true. We can't abandon border force officers in France.
But also the other thing, we were talking about this already this week. There's a flight we believe coming in on Saturday from Paris to Britain, which has got migrants on it who are part of the swap scheme, even though we haven't given them anybody. So we'll be paying for that as well, presumably.
Correct. Yeah, and the noise is coming from the French Interior Ministry very much is that they still expect that inbound flight to Britain to run. They still expect to be sending vetted asylum seekers, people who they think and we think have a genuine claim to be in this country, whether they have family here, but people who would win an asylum case if they presented to the Home Office. Those are the ones being brought here, and the French Interior Ministry still say that flight is coming, even if we don't send anyone at all.
So basically, we've increased the numbers of people coming here brilliantly without actually trying very hard, and we're not sending anybody out, but we're getting many more people in. And you also said to me that if we do eventually get any out into Paris and they get put into the suburbs in hotels, we also pay for the French hotels.
Potentially, yeah, but also the important point is that they'll be, as they are in this country of asylum hotels, free to come and go as they please. Paris is 140 miles away from Calais. If a lot of these migrants are able to get from Eritrea, Sudan, Afghanistan to the shores of northern France, I don't think there's much stopping them from, if they have the resources for it, having another go at getting across, using a false identity, using some way to try and evade the Home Office. The French have promised that if that happens, they will take them back again. But if they can evade the system and just become another number in the many thousands who come over to Britain, then, well, I mean, they may well try.
In the midst of all of this, I'm just going to read you this because we like to read out the first sort of lie of the day, as I like to call it, from Keir Starmer. He tweeted this out this morning at around about 8 o'clock. Millions of patients receiving life-saving treatments faster, families getting access to cleaner, more reliable energy, local communities and businesses seeing greater opportunities, more jobs, more growth. That's what the new UK-US tech partnership will deliver. I mean, it's like he's living in some kind of parallel universe. What's he talking about?
I mean, look, Donald Trump jetted in last night to great fanfare. And he was boasting earlier yesterday on the White House lawn about how there were zero illegal arrivals into the United States. I mean, compare and contrast to 4 years ago when there were tens of thousands flooding in at the southern border in Texas under Joe Biden. Donald Trump has taken a very, very hard line on immigration. It's a stance he's had for a decade. If Keir Starmer wants to ask him anything, maybe he needs to ask for tips on stopping people coming into his country illegally.
He really should. That would be great. Well, it's a fantastic story, Thomas. Well done. Thank you very much indeed.